Well, hello. My name is Tiffany Mfume. I am the Associate Vice President for Student Success and Retention here at Morgan State University. I have been in an administrative capacity here for 23 years, and I'm a graduate of the university. I am highlighting the life and legacy of my grandmother, Dr. Enolia Pettigen McMillan. Well, my grandmother was born in 1904, the daughter of a former slave, and she was the first in her family, of course, at that time, to go on from what it was called the Colored High School at that time that she graduated from in 1922. It's now known as Douglas High School. And she went on to Howard University in 1922. She commuted every day from Baltimore on the train to Howard for all 4 years. And at that time, that wasn't the Amtrak that we know today. That was the B&O Railroad. That was a different kind of commute. And then in 1926, she graduated from Howard and was admitted to Columbia University, where she earned her master's degree in teaching. And at that time, she wrote her master's thesis because after she finished Howard, she went on to teach. And she was the first Black person appointed to teach at a white high school. And she became the first Black principal of a high school and a white high school. So her work at Columbia for her thesis was on pay discrimination of white teachers and Black teachers in Maryland. And that led her to work with Thurgood Marshall, actually. And before the Brown v. Board of Education lawsuit, my grandmother worked with Thurgood Marshall to pick plaintiffs from her work in Maryland with teacher pay. And those plaintiffs became the court cases that led to the Brown v. Board education decision that changed everything for us. So her pioneering work before the NAACP, before Morgan, before all this other work she did, was really in pay inequity and racism in education in Maryland. She was the first woman to be president of the Maryland Teachers Association. She was the first Black person, like I said, appointed to the school. She had about 5 firsts as an educator in the state of Maryland. But after she exposed what was going on with pay inequity and began to work with Thurgood Marshall, she was then blacklisted from becoming, for example, superintendent of schools, because she was more qualified. She had been principal at multiple high schools. She had been integrated, but because she was, exposing the racism, she stayed at the principal level and never went on to like a superintendent level. Her major challenges were about breaking barriers, whether it was as a woman or a Black person in the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s. We think we have racism now, and we do. We definitely have microaggressions and overt racism and criminal justice issues, but when people say things haven't changed, I know they haven't lived in the 20s, 30s, or, it's on a continuum of change. We have a long way to go, but when I think about her challenges of, literally segregation, colored only, things you can't do, places you can't go, jobs you can't have, things you can't say. Those were her challenges, just overt sexism and racism. But they didn't intimidate her. She believed in doing what was right, no matter what the consequences. She was very bold in her convictions of what's just not right. If it's not right, it's not right. And she wasn't afraid to say that and to expose things that were wrong. She had very supportive parents. That's one. She married a supportive husband, my grandfather. He was a graduate of Hampton. She was a graduate of Howard. And, I hear so much about how important it is even now that so many of our people are first generation college graduates, and we get so excited about it, and I am always excited about it, but I thought about it and I said, I'm a 3rd generation college graduate. So my grandparents came, and thanks to HBCUs, if it hadn't been for Hampton and Howard, my grandparents would not have been able to graduate from college. But so she had a supportive husband who was, letting her do her thing and very supportive in that way. But her major support was her faith. That's what it was all about. Her church work, her church commitment, her spirituality really was what she said undergirded her. That lack of fear that she had, that conviction for what's right and righteousness, that's really what undergirded her faith. She was a founding member of Calvary Baptist Church, which is still on Garrison Boulevard. She literally laid the cement basement, poured it. Yeah, by the way, she was a hard worker. She was one of those roll up your sleeves and get dirty type of worker. She wasn't cute with it, although she could present herself as cute with her Sunday hat on and all. That's because she'd been at church the night before laying the concrete basement. So she never missed a Sunday of church. Even when she was a national leader at the NACP and all the things that she was committed to, her faith was really that major support. It never wavered. She was consistent. She believed what she believed. She just lived that good life where there was no hypocrisy, just integrity and humility. Having lived 102 years from 1904 to 2006, got to see so many changes. She talked about remembering seeing the first car, right? The first train. These were all in her lifetime. The first plane, cars, trains, airplanes. I remember one of the last trips we took after she had retired from being the national NACP president. That was her after she finished 30 plus years, 44 years in education. Then she went on to another 35 years of civil rights with her work with the NACP. She was the first president of the first woman president of the national NACP and only that they've ever had. But she was also the first president of the Maryland State NACP conference. So with all of that, what she would say to us, she got to see being a first so many times and seeing so many changes and seeing the culture. I think what she would want for us now to do is to stay focused and not get distracted. But she still believed the legacy and the heritage I think she would want us to focus on is about right is still right and wrong is still wrong, and how you treat people, affording them basic rights, and that, everyone has the right to basic, air, food, clean water, a place to live, the basic needs of people being met. She would want her legacy to be taking care of the least of these, and that, we all can move forward together. The commitment to doing what's right, even if you suffer consequences from speaking up, because she was not, like I said, promoted as high as she could have been in her education career as an administrator. Even if you don't have some friends because they don't want you to talk about certain things, but really just being unafraid to stand for what's right and to get arrested and to, make hard choices, but knowing that it's for other people. That's what she was about. Other people, seeing us move forward. And like I said, as a people with equality, with equity, with human rights, with dignity. Out of everything that Enolia McMillan accomplished in her life, in the field of education, civil rights, higher education and post-secondary education, for what she did for Morgan. Of all the things that she did, I think what I would take and run with is that she did all of that not at the expense of her family. Oh, definitely. I believe her highest crown is going to be, that's a hard one. I was going to say her faith, but her faith was in action. So yes, she was faithful. Again, to her church, to the mission of her church, to ministry. She was a Sunday school teacher. I mean, again, I don't know how she made up these hours in the day to be, a school principal, a Sunday school teacher, a cook, a chef. But I think of all of these things in glory, what will matter most is, you would know my people by their love. And it's just that love, whether it was love for the community, love for family, love for church. I think it's her love, and her love in action. Not her love as an emotion, not her love as a feeling, but her love in action, meaning I love you and therefore I give you money, I take care of you, I make sure you have housing, food, clothing, shelter, I come, I spend time, I teach, I pour basement floors, that kind of love in action. I'm Dr. Tiffany Mfume, and this is the story of my grandmother, Dr. Enolia Pettigen McMillan.